Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. For the last couple of years or so, I've been featuring each Fidjoa or King's daughter and getting to know their stories a little bit better. There are over 700 of them. Guess where we're at? We're at 199. Going to hit that 200 really soon. But before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know and help my logarithms and all of that. Subscribe, like, and notify. The next couple of ways are ways you can support the channel and make it grow. Coffee, which is a platform that permits you to make a one-time donation. We have Patreon, which is a subscription service. And then we also have a Super Thanks, which is also a one-time donation that you can see right there on your screen. So with that being said, let's get started and get to know episode 199 and our Fidjoa of this episode. So this episode 199 was actually one that was requested by several viewers. One of the viewers gave me so much more information than I had. And I want to thank him, Raymond. Thank you so much for all of the information that you have given me. It really fleshed out what I could do. I'd love to explore this this particular Fidjoa a little bit more, but I think there's a lot to be done. So if this is your particular ancestry, please chat with me, and I will give you some more insights. But we're now going to just cover the basic parts of her life. So Marguerite was born in the 4th arrondissement of Paris in about 1655. Her parents were Pierre Berrier and Louise Amblard. The church that she was part of, the Church of Saint Jean en Grève, is no more, but we do have illustrations of it. In the upper right part is an illustration of Le Saint Jean de Grève, and then another illustration of the church when it existed. The French word grève refers to a flat area covered with gravel or sand situated on the shores or banks of a body of water. The 4th arrondissement includes the Ile de la Cité, which has been inhabited since the 1st century BC, when it was occupied by the Gauls, and the right bank was first settled in the 5th century. So Marguerite is coming from a very, very old part of Paris. What we do know of Marguerite is that she arrived in New France aboard La Nativité pour Québec on August 3rd, 1672. And she arrived with a dowry of over 700 pounds. We know this because in the ship's manifest they would have noted this amount down. Her parents had passed on, and possibly she was their only inherited, only person to inherit her part of their legacy. There is some conjecture that she was an orphan, but she did come to New France with a dowry worth 700 pounds. She also, a funny thing happened on their way to New France. Now, she comes to New France in August of 1672. She has a natural child, a child born out of wedlock, June of 1673, with a man who is famous. His name is Simon François Daumont, and we know, and we can go into all of that history as well. And please feel free to investigate this gentleman. He was somebody who worked with La Salle and all of these very famous explorers. I retraced the lineage and the timeline. Yes, it is entirely possible that he would have met up with Marguerite. Remember, she came aboard with quite a bit, a dowry worth a little bit more than much more, double or triple, what most of the girls came aboard with. Jean-Baptiste Daumont, their son, is born in June of 1673, and it does not state that he's a natural child. It does not state in this, it just states that this is his father, this is his mother, And the godfather would be Philippe Gautier, who was a fellow sire, very notable man, and the godmother was Jeanne Angélique Brière, who was the wife of another seigneur. So if you wanted to hush it up, you would pick people of your caliber, if you will. And certainly, this is something that she kept the child, and but this is the baptismal that we have for this child. So at some point, Marguerite does need to get married. So she does find a groom, Julien Bouin de Dufresne. He's born 1640 in a place called Ancenis, France. Now it's called Ancenis Saint-Jérôme. His parents were Julien Bouin and Marguerite Boussy. He's part of the Pays de la Loire region, and he's part of the Loire-Atlantique Département, which has about, now this particular town has about 8,000 people. It played a great historical role as a key location on the road to Nantes, and was the historical capital of Brittany. It was named the Key of Brittany and the Door of Brittany. The church of Saint Pierre, Saint Peter, dates from the 15th century, but the famous castle of Ancenis, which I point up on the upper left, dates from the 9th century. I'd love to see this castle. So this is the groom that kind of swooped in to Marguerite's life. Let's see his travels to New France. So Julien comes to New France with as so many others did with the Carignan soldiers, and would be part of the Sorel Company, who would arrive August 17, 1665. So remember, Marguerite gives birth in 1673, and then by July of 1675, 2 years later, almost to the day, she marries Julien and the Dufresne, which begs the question: what was she doing for 2 years? How did she live? Was she living with the nuns? I have no idea. Fascinating history. So the family would settle at Ancienne Lorette, which means the old Lorette. This history of this town goes back to 1674, when the Jesuit Pierre Chemonot built a chapel on this site for the Hurons who had been forced to flee their homeland of Ontario by the Iroquois. The original church of l'Ancienne Lorette, Notre-Dame de l'Annonciation, was actually built much later in 1698, the year following the departure of the Hurons, who had moved northwards, closer to their hunting ground. The old village center along Rue Notre-Dame is rich in architectural heritage and parks. Really and truly, the Notre-Dame de l'Annonciation Church really monopolizes the town, because it's not that big a town. So you kind of like, everywhere you look, you're seeing this particular church. Also, the Théâtre de la Fenière, which is the oldest and best known of Quebec's summer theaters, is found here as well. The only child that Marguerite and Julien would have, his name was Charles François, and he would go on to marry Marie-Madeleine Gauvin and have 9 children, all of whom would make it. Sometime between 1676 and 1679, Marguerite would pass away. We know that she passed away because this is the date, April 5th, 1679, when her first son, Jean-Baptiste, was adopted. Let's have a look. This is the contract that was drawn up, and I have the actual link to the site so you can have a look at it and kind of blow it up. April 5th, 1679, Jean-Baptiste Daumont is adopted by Vincent Poirier. Obviously, Julien not obviously, because, we don't know. We don't know why he was adopted. It's possible that his father, his natural father, said, I would prefer that he be raised by this gentleman. I have no idea, but we have lots of conjecture. Julien would carry on and have 5 children with a lady named Jeanne Rivaux, 2 of whom would produce a descendancy. We have Simon, who would marry Marie-Louise Dubois and have 4 children, all of whom would make it. Charles Louis would marry Marianne Fache and have 2 children. Then would pass away in infancy. Claude would pass away in infancy. And the second Claude would also pass away in infancy. And Julien would pass away being buried at l'Ancien-Norret, February 17th, 1716. There's just something noble about this gentleman, Julien, that he would marry Marguerite and, you know, be there for her. There's something about it, and I could be just romanticizing it, but I think it was a beautiful thing. As always, I encourage you to further research. WikiTree is one that I'm using more and more these days. You've got to make sure that the people that are doing the information are putting in, the sources and things like that, which of course WikiTree really focuses on a great deal. I really do think it's a fabulous, resource. I've also listed all of the other, places where you can research and have a look at. All the links are there in the notes section. Motivated by this story of Marguerite, I think she lived a remarkable life. I think she was a woman ahead of her time, not afraid of taking chances. Obviously, came across with quite a big dowry. Had a natural child, kept that natural child until her own death. And there's just something, there's lots more research, and my viewer Raymond absolutely has lots of information and, real in-depth insight into this. So absolutely fascinated by all that he shared with me. It helped me kind of get inside Marguerite's head. We are so grateful. She only had, get this, 13 descendants as of 1729. I want to hear from how many of you are descendants of Marguerite Berrin, because you might be a descendant from her son, but also from that first son. I wonder if any of you have made that connection. So it's a mystery. So please share with us if indeed you have that connection. So we want to thank Marguerite for her bravery and for her ability to, take a chance. And yeah, she was so young when she died, about 34. So she lived a very short life, but she made an impact. And we are grateful to her. As I am grateful to my patrons and supporters, thank you so much for helping me become better and supporting me and encouraging me, not only financially, but also through your notes and emails and that sort of thing. Really, really love hearing from you. Thanks again, and I will see you on episode 100. Actually, no, episode 200. We're fine. I'll see you on episode 200. Until then, au revoir.